So Andrew, in forensic psychiatry, there's a lot of different areas of interest. There's like paraphilias and psychosis and mood disorders. What would you say is your kind of special interest area in forensic psychiatry?
So I probably have a few
Sure.
that's probably the area I'm most personally interested in is probably the area that's come up most recently is extremism and violent extremism. And
What does that mean? I haven't heard of that.
This is sort of colloquially terrorism and things like this, and working with justice agencies. So bringing a sort of medical approach to managing, serious incidents or managing people who might pose a significant threat to society.
So have you had to work with like government agencies?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so things like what's sort of evolving, what are called fixated threat assessment centres, which are sort of a amalgam of police and mental health services, looking at people who might pose a significant threat of stalking type behaviours or harassment, and but moving on then in other forms into sort of violent extremism.
Yeah.
So you get to, which is quite a very, very niche area, but is...
Well, it's niche, but it's also proportionate. Like, I feel like the world's the most peaceful it's ever been, technically, if you look at like statistics on violence and wars and things. But the ability for single agents to do kind of catastrophic damage at larger scale with technology is the highest it's ever been as well. So you only need a few like bad people. So yeah, it sounds like it's niche but very important.
Yeah, so that's an area that I've become, again, sort of falling into, but there's a sort of demand for that psychiatric expertise in those areas, and so that's probably the area.
And so are these, in a sense, people that aren't aware, like they're being monitored by, and you have to do an assessment without necessarily them being aware?
So sometimes it's, in some cases you might be asked to make an assessment of someone based on materials rather than...
Yeah.
So the idea of profiling, or this sort of thing, is there. Of course, this strays into ethical areas about how
the risk benefit of liberties and
what we do know, for example, fixated persons, people who stalk or harass, particularly public figures, an extremely high proportion of those people have a psychotic illness. And so actually the work is more a public health intervention to try and identify people at risk of the catastrophic outcome, which is psychosis plus violence. Try and identify them and then link them in with treatment, rather than a sort of big brother police state and we'll just monitor you until you do something bad and then catch you.
Yeah. Prevention's really the focus, not...
Yeah. So really, it's bringing a health focus to justice interventions, and I guess that probably will scare a lot of people when they hear it on YouTube. But this is, I think, an important area for medicine to be involved in, because we do come from that ethical stance of do no harm, and I think there's certainly a lot of our training in that nebulous area of diagnosing things without easy markers is applicable in these kind of areas. So that's probably that sort of area is what I've been interested in. It's captured more of an interest. It's probably not enough that I could do that all the time, because thankfully there's just not enough of that going around.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's an area to get more expertise in. But there's, like you say, there's lots of other areas, sexual offending's another area, and certainly in the hospital, psychosis and severe psychosis and associated with violence is then, sort of other areas to be involved in. I like the interdisciplinary working because you're working with, say, police or other sort of justice officers, the legal system. It's a good way to sort of extend your skills into another area and hopefully do some good.
Hey team, thank you so much for checking out that highlight clip from the Doctors Getting Coffee podcast that I run. If you want to see more clips, you can check out my YouTube channel, or if you want to listen to the whole thing, check out your favorite podcast app. If you want to support the podcast, consider buying us the next coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Dr. Sil. You can also join us as a YouTube member or a Patreon and get access to the full video podcast episode. Or you can just jump onto our Discord server and we can chat one-on-one. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.